Hello, and welcome to Alberta Health Services Health Matters. I'm your host, Kelly Morris. We're joined today by health and wellness experts from our community, helping us to live a healthier lifestyle. I'm joined by Joanna Jones, Director of Operations at the YMCA of Lethbridge, talking about healthy eating at recreation centers. Up next is registered dietitian Victoria Becker, who's going to talk to us about fueling your activity. And finally, Lori Harasem, Health Promotion Coordinator at Lethbridge College, is going to talk to us about food sustainability, what that means, and how it impacts post-secondary students here in Lethbridge and across Canada. Up first is Joanna Jones, Director of Operations at the YMCA of Lethbridge. Hi, Joanna.
Hi, Kelly. Thanks for having me here today.
How is the YMCA of Lethbridge working to provide healthy food to our community?
Thanks for asking. So healthy eating starts with everyone in our community, but we at the YMCA of Lethbridge partner with providers that align with our vision of a healthier community. And so we've worked hard to make sure that we've created high standards for our providers and found providers that we feel comfortable are going to provide healthy options to at our facility as well as at our child cares.
Okay, what are some examples of the food options that are available?
So we have Jugo Juice at our facility at the Corvan Ray YMCA, and their vision or mission is to provide healthy and accessible food options to communities that they're in as well. And we also contract with a vendor who upholds the Alberta Health Services vending toolkit recommendations, which we're very happy that Alberta Health Services has set some of those standards across the province so that we can work with vending machines to ensure that there's healthy snack options for youth, children, and adults that come into our facilities.
That's great. So are there some programs in place that help encourage youth and children to make healthy choices? I know when you've got a vending machine in front of you, you could choose a chocolate or you choose a healthy snack. Are you helping encourage them to make the right choice?
Yeah, I think by setting the standards of our vending operators to ensure that they're providing those healthy choices. But we've also created programs. Our community programs team has actually started a new program that provides free snacks to youth that come to our rec center, because often children come to our rec center that haven't eaten for part of the day, they're tired, they spend long hours at our facility, and we want to ensure that not only there's healthy options available for them, but that there's an option at all available for them, because often they don't have the money or the means to purchase some of those snacks that we provide, that our vendors provide, but that they have an option available to them at all. So we want to make sure, so that's one of our programs that we're providing as well. We've worked hard to ensure that we have healthy options, food options, not at an extra cost to our childcare parents and childcare children that allow those children have the best quality food options while they're in our care during the daytimes.
Great. Now, why is it important for our physical health, as well as to the mission of the YMCA to be eating healthy?
So as a nonprofit, we strive to live up to our vision to have the healthiest community possible, and to have an engaged community where everyone belongs and thrives. So that being our vision, health and nutrition are important factors where Canadians choose food options, and we see that the food industry is responding to this demand, especially by providing healthier options. Whether it's in vending machines or, as I had mentioned, Jugo, who we partner with, they're seeing how important that is becoming to people. And as a rec center, we see people there to engage in healthy activities already. So we're just working alongside those people that are working to better their health by providing healthy options in our recreation centers.
Perfect. I learned about a lot of things that I didn't know about at our local YMCA today. Thank you so much for coming out and sharing all of that with us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Up next, we have Victoria Becker, who is a registered dietitian with Alberta Health Services. We're going to continue this conversation as she talks to us about fueling your activity. Welcome back to AHS Health Matters. Joining me now is Victoria Hecker, a registered dietitian with Alberta Health Services. And today we're talking about fueling your activity. Now, I've been spending a few nights a week at the ballpark with my son, and with the sun coming out, we're hiking, biking, getting active. And I'd love to have some ideas of great meals or snacks to eat before we're starting an activity.
Absolutely. So no matter what sport you do or how seasoned of an athlete you are, if you're just starting to move your body, even then, you can still benefit from eating well and fueling your activity. It's important to eat enough food before activity to make sure that your muscles and your brain have enough energy to do what you enjoy doing. Choose foods that contain carbohydrates and protein. Those two work really well together to make sure that our stomach empties before the activity, so it's not causing us any stomach upset. So this could be a sandwich with a glass of milk or a plant-based beverage. It could be a stir fry if we have a little bit more time before an activity, or it could be just a smaller snack before you go too. Everyone's sport nutrition needs are very individual too, so what works great for one person may not work so well for someone else. It is a good idea to try things out before a big game, so at a practice or a less structured activity. Give it a try then before the stakes are quite so high. Yeah.
So how soon before an activity should I be eating?
I'd recommend taking the time to have a good meal 2 to 3 hours before activity. So that's more of a larger meal that you're able to sit down and eat a little bit more. Again, carbohydrates and protein together, not too much fat or fiber in there, just to make sure that our stomach empties properly. We don't always have time for that. If you're exercising first thing in the morning, sometimes if we were just waking up and getting going. So if we only have time for a smaller snack, 1 to 2 hours before works just fine.
Yeah, I know we're often rushing from school and work to the next activity, so that's really good information to know. What about during an activity? Is there snacks or things that you can have to fuel while you're active?
Absolutely. So not everyone needs to eat during activity. If it's taking you less than an hour, we probably don't need to eat in the middle of it, unless we have not eaten enough food beforehand. That definitely happens. We've all been there. If we are exercising for more than an hour, I would recommend things that are primarily carbohydrates and quick acting. So that could be a banana, a small box of raisins, something that our body's able to use very quickly and use up so that it's good to go during our activity.
Now what about after an activity, after we've burned all that energy?
You bet. So an important window of time is 30 minutes after our activity. It's important, especially if we're exercising again within the next 24 hours, that we take some time to eat and refuel for that activity. It's important to eat within this time to refill your energy stores and help your muscles recover so that you have enough energy for the next time you exercise. If you have more than 24 hours for that next activity, it's okay to eat when you're hungry next or at your next meal. Carbohydrates and protein, again, go really well together here. This could be a smoothie made with some fruit and some Greek yogurt, a tuna salad sandwich with whole grain bread, or pasta with a meat or lentil sauce and some salad in there too. So getting a variety of things.
Those are lots of great ideas.
Awesome.
Yeah. Now, what about hydration? It's getting hot out, you're burning all of that off while you're working out, plus the heat. What are some ways to stay hydrated? How much water do I really need?
You bet. With hydration, it's always important to start early. So hours before you exercise, take the time to make sure that we're hydrated well in advance. We can't just chug and go. It doesn't work that way. Body needs a little bit of time to absorb that fluid. So it's important to drink about 400 to 600 milliliters of water 2 to 3 hours before we exercise. Dehydration and overhydration can both have an impact on performance, so don't overdo it either. Try to drink during the activity between half cup to about 1.25 cup of water every 15 to 20 minutes to make sure that you stay hydrated if you're sweating a lot. And then, of course, replenish afterwards. Drink small amounts throughout the day afterwards. Don't chug and go. That's my advice.
That's good advice for my 8-year-old son.
Yeah.
Well, that's excellent. Thank you for sharing all that information with us today. For more information, including handouts and resources, you can visit ahs.ca/nutrition. Welcome back to AHS Health Matters. Joining me now is Lethbridge College's Health Promotion Coordinator, Lori Harasem. Thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
So today we were going to talk about food security. What is food security and why is it a concern at Lethbridge College and other post-secondary institutions across Canada?
So food security is really an individual's access to food. So we have something that we call food deserts, which exist, for example, if people are not within like maybe walking distance or a short transit ride to a grocery store or someplace that would provide food where they could purchase food or access food. And so food security is really about not only having the access to it geographically, but also like financially and just being able to have food in the house that people can obviously live off of. It is quite an important conversation that we're having at Lethbridge College right now and on campuses across Canada, because I think just like the bigger community, naturally we're hearing a lot about with inflation and the cost of rent and everything else rising and the cost of food rising, that there are more and more people that can't afford the amount of food they need and the healthy foods that their body actually requires. I like to think sometimes that, we used to joke about students on campus living on Kraft Dinner and Itchy Van, and that was really funny, but there was a truth to it. Mm-hmm. But more and more, actually, we're seeing that even the cost of Itchy Van and Kraft Dinner goes up, and when your rent goes up and the cost of food goes up, you may eat less because you just can't afford to eat.
So what sort of programs or services are happening at the college to help connect students to food?
So we're very fortunate in that the Lethbridge College Student Association does run a food bank on campus, and so students can access that for emergency food support. We've also been very lucky because we have partnered with Lethbridge Food Bank, and they offer a mobile pop-up sort of food bank that goes to locations throughout the community in the month, and anybody in the community can access food at those food bank pop-up locations, and you don't need to provide any income information. So for an international student, for example, that's really beneficial because you probably don't have income information from the last 6 months or a year that you would normally need to provide to prove eligibility for a program. Mm-hmm. So we actually have the Lethbridge Food Bank, mobile food bank at the college once a month right now, and so our students can access that food, but anybody from the community could actually stop by the college and access that food while the food truck is there. And we do have some other partnerships, like for example, the Ecumenical Campus Ministry is on both Lethbridge College and U of L, mm-hmm. and they do provide some food security. They run little food pantries at the university. At the college, they have supplied some meals for students throughout the school year.
Oh, excellent. So is food security only about connecting students to where they can find food, or are there other approaches that you take as well?
It's actually even more than just food. I think everybody's instant reaction is get a food hamper and get food, and then so you sort of dealt with it. But really essentially what we'd like is for people to have the education about different things that they can do to make themselves more food secure than just accessing food and food hampers. So for example, we bring Interfaith Food Bank on campus. They have a mandate to address food security, and they offer the most incredible workshops on a variety of topics, and they're free. They offer them free to our students, but they also have workshops at their location, and they're free to anybody in the community. So for example, I've taken workshops on how to make jam from food. So, your fruits may be going a little bit bad, you've kept it too long, you can flash freeze it and hold on to it. And then when you have some time now, I know how to make jam. And that cost me nothing to learn. So they've been coming on campus, and we've had a sprout growing workshop, because sprouts are very cheap to grow and very, very healthy. They teach how to shop on a shoestring budget. So sort of making some smart grocery shopping choices when you've got very limited access to funds. Growing gardens, of course, during COVID, that became quite popular, but that can help people out. But what do you do when you've suddenly got so much tomatoes? So how do you make salsa from that or whatnot? So we have been trying to provide educational opportunities for students, and I would recommend to anybody in the community to check out Interfaith Food Bank and all the free opportunities they have to learn some new skills.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
And one of the things that you made me think of just now is that we often have the idea that eating healthy is more expensive. Is that true? Are we limited to eating Kraft Dinner and Ichiban, or how do people make healthy food choices when they're on a limited budget?
Yeah, it's definitely hard. We do know that it is, it sometimes would seem cheaper to just go through a drive-through at a fast food restaurant and spend your $10 or whatever. But nowadays, even a meal in a fast food restaurant is probably $10 to $12. So there are ways of making healthy choices, and a lot of times it would be something like the growing sprouts. So if you're going to make something like, say, Kraft Dinner, how do you add something to the Kraft Dinner that increases the nutritional value of the Kraft Dinner? Yeah. So you can still have the very affordable, maybe not the best choice of food, but you can add things to it to increase the nutritional value. So that would be one of the options out there, is if you have limited, for example, vegetables, or if you have tomatoes, because you're growing tomatoes, then next time you make spaghetti, which tends to be affordable, you can actually add fresh tomatoes to the spaghetti, which would then increase, obviously, the nutritional value. Another tip is often that frozen, fruits and vegetables, are way cheaper than the fresh stuff, often because the fresh stuff has been picked from somewhere else in the world and flown here, and so it's actually lost nutritional value in the travels, whereas when a food is picked and frozen, it's frozen with the nutritional value in place. And it's cheaper to buy it that way. So there's a recommendation that you check out the frozen food section for your fruits and vegetables at times as well, and see if you can get more bang for your buck.
Perfect. And on the topic of nutrition, why is it important, especially for post-secondary students, to have to be eating healthy foods and not living off of mac and cheese?
Yes. Well, we all have heard the phrase, I think, you are what you eat. And while not literally true, it is true, and we do know that what you eat does affect your mental health and your physical health. The amount of research that links diseases in our life to, poor nutrition is, it's astounding. And I think for the long term, for the health system, none of us want to grow old and end up dealing with a lot of disease or whatnot that we could have avoided from eating healthier. But for post-secondary students in the here and now, mental health is a huge topic in our world right now. And if you're not eating healthy, you're not fueling your brain and you're not fueling your body. And both of those are really important for students, especially when you're trying to study and learn and pick up new skills. And then, of course, we promote being physically active because it's really important for your overall well-being as well. And if you're not fueling your body, you're not going to probably have the energy or motivation to, do much more than, sit behind the computer, which isn't good for us. So yeah, so there's a number of reasons why we would really want students to eat healthy. Beyond the fact that Kraft Dinner for 4 years or 2 years is not really a fun way of living.
Maybe for the first month or so. But
exactly.
That's great. Well, thank you, Lori, so much for bringing all this information to us today. Appreciate having you here today.
Thanks.
And that wraps up another episode of AHS Health Matters. I want to thank my guests again for sharing this information with us today. We've got all sorts of great information about how to fuel our bodies, whether we're on a budget or not, how to fuel our activities, and how to make healthy choices while at recreation centers in our community. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We'll see you next time on AHS Health Matters.